Good morning, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Dong Report, where I give out my favorite MLB home run picks of the day. As for today, I only have two for you guys today, as I didn't love the slate. But before we can get into today's picks, I do need to do a recap from yesterday, where I had three picks that I gave out. We got one of those three to cash. Thank you to Max Muncy. We end the day up 1.40 units. Always nice to have a profitable day, especially because the day before we didn't get any of those three to cash. So we're starting to get back into the green. Let's hope for today that we can go 2-0. That brings our total profit on the Dong Report season to date up to 73.05 units with an ROI of 12.83%. Amazing numbers. We only have a couple weeks left of the MLB season. I'm not going to be doing this mostly for the playoffs, so we got to ride out these last couple of days while we can. If you're new to my channel, would appreciate it if you could subscribe if you have not already. If you are a returning viewer, welcome back. I appreciate you. Please make sure to like and comment as well. And let's chat dongs. So as I mentioned, I only have two for you guys today. We have a lighter slate of games because it's a Thursday and the weather for today's slate isn't that great. There isn't a single game that is juicy from a home run perspective. So just something to keep in mind why I only have two and why the odds are the way they are. But regardless, for our first play in the Braves versus Nationals game, we're going to take Marcell Ozuna to hit a home run. That is at plus 400 odds at FanDuel. Now, looking at Ozuna, pretty much like every other player on the Braves this year because their team is just ridiculous, Ozuna is having a good year. Overall, he's got 35 home runs on the year, and I like his advanced stats as well. Again, we're looking at the entire year, so pretty massive sample size. His ISO rate is at 26.5%, which is in the excellent category, and his barrel rate is 15.7%, which is also in the excellent category. Now, if you are new, ISO rate and barrel rate are two of the stats that I look at a lot. If you don't know what they mean, ISO rate stands for isolated power. Literally just measures how much power a batter has. For ISO rate, I mentioned 25% and above is considered excellent. And then for barrel rate, it measures how well you hit the barrel of the bat when you make contact. So the logic being, if you have a lot of power and you consistently make good contact, home runs are going to come. Naturally, the home run leaders are good in these two categories, but it's also a good way to look at a batter that might be a little bit undervalued if their advanced stats look good, but their overall home runs do not. Now, Ozuna has 35, so he looks good, but just the two stats that I like to look at. In this game specifically, I like targeting Marcell Ozuna because he does have the advantage over the pitching matchup, which in this case, Nationals pitcher Jake Irvin. The source I use for this is Ballpark Pal. It looks into a lot of factors and basically looks at the types of pitches the batter hits well, the types of pitches that the pitcher likes to pitch and that he pitches well, gives an advantage whether it's to the batter or to the pitcher. In this case, Ballpark Pal lists this in favor of the batter. And lastly, Marcell Ozuna has been playing well recently. His last 10 games, he's only got 2 home runs, which isn't a ton, but that still is enough to make us feel comfortable. In the past month, he has an ISO rate of 39.8%, which is obviously very good. As I mentioned, there's no game that is extremely juicy for weather. This one is closer to neutral, but we still like Ozuna to mash one for us, cashing our first play of the evening. Next up in the Mets versus Phillies game, give me Bryce Harper to hit a home run. That is at plus 600 odds at FanDuel. Now, right off the bat, getting plus 600 odds for Bryce Harper to hit a home run at home is just ridiculous. This is another game where the weather is closer to neutral than it is to positive, but it's still not completely negative, so that's fine for my book. And the plus 600 odds is crazy. If you look at Bryce Harper's entire season stats, it's not super impressive from a power perspective. But what you have to keep in mind is that for the first 3 months since he returned from Tommy John surgery, he just had no power. He could not power the ball up. But that has not been the case recently, basically since August as well. He has gotten his power back, and that shows. And he also performs better at home than he does on the road. So he's got 19 home runs on the year. 13 of those home runs have come in Philly. And I mentioned that if you look at his advanced stats on the year, they're not super impressive. Well, if you look at his home road splits, then they start to look a little bit better. At home, his ISO rate is 25.6%, which remember is considered excellent. Now, if you look on the road, it's only 14.3%. That's not great. I also like to look, as I mentioned, at barrel rate. His is at 15.3%, so he's excellent in that category as well. And I mentioned he's been playing better recently, so let's dive into that specifically a little bit. He's got 4 home runs total in the month of September, which that doesn't sound great, but all 4 of those home runs have come in the past 10 games. And we've seen Bryce be a streaky batter both this year and in his career. At the end of August, he was on fire, just a ridiculous streak. He cooled off a little bit at the beginning of September, now seems to be coming out of that slump. If you look at his ISO rate the past month, it's at 36.4%, and in the past 2 weeks, it's at 31%, so excellent, both in the past 2 weeks and in the past month. Again, another neutral weather game, 4 home runs, but I love Bryce to mash one for us tonight, cashing our second and final pick of the evening. I do have one honorable mention that's also going to be in the Mets versus Phillies game, Pete Alonso, as an honorable mention. For honorable mentions, they don't get tracked whether they win or lose, but people have asked if I have some, so I do want to give those out, and I have gotten a couple to cash, so the success is there. But all we need and all we're looking for is one of our main 2 players to cash. If we can get one to hit a home run, we will be profitable. If both hit a home run, we will be slightly rich because it's only a 2-legger. So let's hope for that. Again, remember to like the video, subscribe, comment, let me know your thoughts, and thanks for watching.